Good morning. Okay, thank you. So, just so you know, we had 300 chairs laid out. I know there's a couple of empty spots in between, but we just had to bring more chairs into the back. So, I'm going to go on record right now as this is the largest turnout for an all-company meeting that we've ever had. Second thing is I really appreciate your time. I know it's a Friday. I've heard all the reasons that today's not good. Here's the thing. We're in the real estate business. There's never a good day. This is one of the best days. We could have it on Christmas if you wanted to, but this is one of the best times. Real quickly, there's been a lot of people work on this. These things keep getting bigger every year. And literally, we started working on this the first week of October this year. So a lot of staff. I'm going to forget to mention somebody by name, but really quickly, Melissa Richardson, Monica Bell, Rick from First Titles, our sound and IT guy, and has also done all the videos, and the ever-present Drew Dossie. Quick round of applause for those four. So, got to use this mouse, don't we? I have a tendency in these meetings to always talk about what's ahead and to rarely go back and look at what's happened over the last year. I thought this time we would start with what we've accomplished in 2014. So if you'll give me just a few minutes, we're gonna come back over some of that. The first thing, and probably the thing that I learned the quickest about Mcgraw, was our level of presence and work in the community. I know there's many of you that are on many boards and attend many things and help in many ways. These were just a few of them. And I couldn't pass up a girl in workout clothes and a nail gun as a picture. That's Heather Mcgraw, if you'd like to know. So Habitat for Humanity, the MS-150, as we always do our lights on at Kendall Whittier, those are the company events that we do, but I know that all of you do much, much more throughout the year, and that's really one of the things that make our company as great as it is. Next, we got recognized. This isn't something that happens every year. So first, we were voted best in the world. Now, I always have a little bit of an issue with those contests because they can be rigged, right? You can send your friends to vote multiple times, although it's still a very nice honor, and we should be appreciative of that. However, the one that really meant the most to John and Joe and myself was being voted one of the best workplaces in the state. That was not done by the public. That was done by you guys, and it was done by a survey. And so that one was really special to us and meant a lot to us. Next, we grew. Some of you probably know about these. Some of you may not. That's why we're here today. So we opened a Shawnee office in July. So Crystal's here. Crystal, our manager from Shawnee. I saw you earlier. Wave. There you are. We opened a Shawnee office and are very proud to have those folks have the Mcgraw name out there. And then we opened a Bixby office in October. Brian Guthrie. Where's Brian? There he is. Brian's our manager at Bixby. If you haven't stopped by the Bixby office, I would encourage you to do so. It is different from most of the other offices, and we would like you to use it as much as you can. For those of you who live in Midtown, 126th is not that far. It's not Dallas. Okay. Next, we made a new partner. AMC Mortgage. I saw Jeff earlier. I'm sure Mike is here as well as our loan officers. This has been a tremendous partnership for 4 months, which is all we've been in it. They have done everything they said they would do and then some. I did not put this picture of myself up here with Jeff and Micah. That was done by some very funny marketing people. But they've been a great partner. If you haven't gotten a chance to meet them, please do so at lunchtime. They will be here, and we'll have a booth. We got social. We realized late last year that our social media presence was lacking. And so we decided to, there were like 6 different Mcgraw Facebook pages, and nobody knew who ran any of them. So we shut them all down and started from scratch. And we did our extreme bedroom makeover contest. Right now, we started this in May. Is that right, Mel? I think May. Right now, we have 3,000 followers on Facebook. We're also working extremely hard and daily on Twitter and Instagram as well. And I want you to know, guys, that's not for everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit more in the future about the millennials. They are going to start buying homes in the next 2 to 3 years. And so a lot of this social media presence is to be out there for them. Plus, I had to show Mickey in the dunk tank. I just couldn't pass that up. It really has nothing to do with this slide, but it's a great picture. We had some fun. We had our first and last ever flag football game. I do want to fall on the sword. It was my idea. It was still a very neat event. We had our awards lunch, and we had our Mcgraw night out at the Patriot. Again, for you Midtowners, it's really not that far north to go to the Patriot. And by the way, we sell a little bit of real estate too. Last year, largest year in the history of the company, 4,735 transactions, average sales price of $223,000, and a total volume of $1,059,259,786. But still, at the end of all of that, the fun, social media, how much we sell, I think what this is really about is that we are Mcgraw. And whether you've been here 30 minutes or 11 hours, somebody's been an associate 11 hours, congratulations, thanks for coming. And I doubt very seriously, but I'm praying. I said a little prayer last night. There's no chance Miss Jackie Cruz is here today, is she? Okay. I had to try. So I think John and Joe and I all called her like 3 times. So whether you've been here 11 hours or since 1979, we're all Mcgraw. Let's talk about the market in 2015. I'm not an economist. I barely got out of macroeconomics in college. For the record, though, that professor didn't like me very much. But I have taken enough data from nationally and looked at some of the key pieces for us and tried to make some presumptions based on that. Nationally, here's what is being predicted. New home sales increase at 25%. Okay, that's a monster number. I will tell you that I do not expect that to be quite as large in Tulsa, but I do expect north of 20% on new home sales. If you're not comfortable in that market, you probably should work on it, because the next few years the builders are going to be very important for our business. Existing home sales increase, again, this is national numbers, at 8%. And there are going to be more first-time home buyers. We have had probably one of the worst 3-year stretches for first-time home buyers since the late 60s, and we expect that to rebound this year. Here's what I think locally. I think we will have a new home sales increase at around 20%. If you haven't looked around this year, there are a lot of new lots going in. The only reason our new home sales wasn't higher last year was they couldn't get the lots developed quickly enough. I expect an existing home sales increase at 6%. Okay. By the way, on our $1.059 billion, that is a 5.2% increase over last year. Okay. However, I will tell you, we had one of the worst first quarters we've had since I've been here, and that includes 2011, which was a really rough year. And that was mainly weather related. It took us until August to catch up from last year because of the first quarter. Here's the keys to, as far as I'm concerned, to our local market. One is the price of oil. Okay, it is something we all need to keep our eye on. It does have in a short term, it does have a positive trickle-down effect because the general public has more money to spend. Okay, but it is not good for the state of Oklahoma to have $50 a barrel oil. Okay, so let's enjoy our $1.75 gas for just a little bit. The experts, the oil energy economists, do not think this is a long-term issue, but it is something that's concerning. Another thing is loosening of mortgage qualifications. Jeff's going to talk just a little bit about that right after lunch. There is some announcements being made, some things coming out that will hopefully loosen those requirements just a little bit. Down payments is also an issue. They're mainly an issue for millennials, okay? They are moving out of their parents' upstairs and buying homes. But the mortgage qualification and the down payment is a big factor in that. So the other thing we don't ever do is we don't ever talk about the competition. So we're going to do that today. I hear and see all the things that the other companies are doing, billboards, buses, what the franchise companies are doing, and we certainly need to pay attention to that. My question is it working? So I thought I would go back and look at the last 4 years, and 2011 was a pretty rough year for everybody in real estate. 2012 and 13 were much better. We've had some inventory issues, but 4 years should give you a pretty good picture. I thought I would take a look at the big 3 companies in town plus one other, okay? And I would look at all the stats, okay? And I know I'm kind of a stat junkie. A lot of you, it doesn't mean anything. But I've pulled out 3 that I think are pretty telling in both good and bad ways. The 3 that I like are the number of associates that have closed at least one transaction, the volume per associate, and the total market share. So let's first take a look at the agents that closed at least one transaction, okay? I'm going to start with Caldwell. In 2011, they had 442 associates that closed at least one transaction. In 2014, they had 468. Keller Williams, and I'm going to talk real quickly about Keller Williams. Keller Williams is a little bit of an anomaly. Those are individual companies that make up one brand here locally, okay? Each one of those offices is like its own company. But for the purpose of this, I think it's important that we put it all together from a brand standpoint. So in 2011, they had 456 associates, and in 14, they had 505. In 2011, we had 361, and in 2014, we had 364 agents that closed at least one transaction. Okay. And then Chenoweth and Cohen, in 2011, they had 248, and then 279 in 2014. Let's look at volume per associate. So with Caldwell in 2011, the average was 1.4 million. This past year, 2 million, 2,086,000. Keller Williams was 1.2 in 2014 and 1.9 this past year. In 2011, our average was 1.8, and this past year it was 2.6 million. By the way, that's the highest in town. And Chenoweth and Cohen was 1.6 in 2011 and 2.3 this past year. Finally, market share. Now, here's what's interesting. Market share, I know, is important to John and Joe and I because it gives us a picture of what's going on. We did a survey back in October to all of you about a bunch of different things about the company. Don Burns, who's with Three Chords Group, Don's here. He's going to be talking in just a little bit, going in depth on that survey. But one of the things I found most interesting about that survey was how much all of you care about market share. I had no idea that it mattered as much as it does to you. So I thought I'd spend a little bit more time on it just because of how important it is to you. Okay, in 2011, Caldwell's market share was 18.81. This past year, it was 18.86. Keller Williams in 2011 was 14.26 and 18.69 this past year. Our market share in 2011 was 18.81, and in 2014, 18.83. Chenoweth and Cohen, 11.42 in 2011 and 12.2 in 2014. So there's only one company up there that shows any growth much at all in market share. Okay. So they're also the only ones that grew by number of associates of any substance. Okay. Now, I know that none of you are interested, as we're not, in recruiting the way that Keller does. Okay. They have a different mindset in recruiting. It's to flood as many associates into their offices as they can and see who sticks. We're never going to do that. Okay. But I do want you to know, I get a lot of feedback to me that I'm just concerned with recruiting. Okay. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So real quickly, let's do this. If you've been here longer than 10 years, will you please stand up? Don't sit down. No. Stay standing up. Just for the record, there's 144 associates that have been with Mcgraw Realtors for longer than 10 years. That's a third of our company. Okay. Now, if you've been here longer than 15 years, if you'll stay standing. There was a lot that stayed standing. There are 54 that have been here longer than 15 years. You guys are the legacy of Mcgraw. You are what is involved in the community. Okay? You are the reasons we were able to close $1 billion last year. Okay? I want you to know, I care just as much if you've been here for 30 years or if you've been here for 11 hours. Okay? It's not all about recruiting. But you told me that market share was really important to you. And the legacy was really important to you. And all I'm trying to do in recruiting is to continue that legacy going forward. It's not at your expense. Francie Bomer, what is it you always say about a tide? I know. She says a rising tide raises all ships. Okay? As we grow the company, as we grow in number of associates, that is not to be a detriment to all of you that are standing right now. Okay? Because it will bring your business up as well. Thank you for standing. Let's talk about what we are focused on for 2015, okay? And there's really three things. I've talked to a lot of the managers about it. I've talked to most of the staff about it, and it's going to be really most of what I talk about for 2015 are going to fit into one of these three things, okay? One is lead generation for all of those of you that are here right now, okay? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. When I say lead generation, I mean internet leads. No, I don't. Okay? I mean any way we possibly can to get more leads to you. You're going to hear about some new things that we're doing coming up. They're not going to require any work from you or any additional money from you. Okay? We started working on a database of past customers. When we get ready to do something, we're real great about doing something on the back page of the business section of the Tulsa World. And there's a place and a time for that, okay? Do you know who I get comments from besides all of you when we do something like that? I get comments from the people who've already bought houses from us, okay? So our thought process going forward is to help you market a little bit more to that past client base. And I know a lot of you do some now. Some of you don't. And it's one of those things that as you get busier, you spend less time on. But lead generation also includes phone calls. I don't know, they were scrambling to try and fix this. So who gets frustrated by the fact you can't tell who's calling you from 592-6000? Everybody's hands in the room ought to be up. I get frustrated about it as well, okay? Here's what I can tell you. I thought it was to be done by today. It may be done by this morning. At least by the end of next week, you will no longer see 592-6000 come across on your phone. It will be the number of the person that's calling you. So it's not just about internet leads, although we are going to talk about that as well, okay? But it's in total about lead generation. And so that's the first thing. The second thing that's really number 2 and number 3 is recruiting, okay? And I don't know that I need to talk any more about recruiting. John's going to talk a little bit about recruiting at the end. But Becky has a booth on recruiting. Is that right, Beck? So I don't know that I need to be the one that talks about that anymore. But that's the number 2 thing, okay? And I hope I just showed you why it's important, okay? And why it's not just important to the company, but it's important to all of you. We have to maintain and hopefully grow that market share that legacy has built. Okay. The third thing, though, and this was another part that was pretty clear in your survey, was that we have a certain level of professionalism at Mcgraw and a certain level of the way that we do things. Okay? So our third thing is to train those associates that come in, okay, into our way of doing things so that we stay the most professional group of agents in the state. Right? I have been able to talk one of the top producers in town and one of the most giving guys I've ever been around, Gordon Shelton. Gordon's going to be speaking in just a little bit into leading our training group. And so that what I can promise you is we have spent an inordinate amount of time on training and will continue to do so that not only can we help you stay up with whatever you need help with, but also for those newer agents or agents from other companies that are coming in. So as I close out, and I'm actually on time, I'd just like to recognize that for just a second. Thank you. As I close out, I'd just like to say one more thing. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all that you do. And the last thing is, I really want to make this clear. If you ever want to go over anything with me, if you ever want to talk about something, and even if you just want to gripe about something, okay? I don't want anybody in here to not feel like I'm not accessible, okay? I do get in a lot of meetings, and that's just a fact of life. But I will do my best to get to you as soon as possible, and if I can't talk to you face-to-face for some reason, I'll call you back on the phone. But I don't want you to ever think I'm too busy or that I'm not accessible. Thank you for coming, and thank you for all that you do.